Welcome to the October 20th Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Plano. I call a meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. If all would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I do, we've got kind of an echo in here.
One moment, we're having a technical difficulty.
Okay.
Should be good to go.
Okay, that sounds better. Thank you. All right, we do have three commissioners absent this evening, Commissioners Tong, Bender, and Ali. We believe Commissioner Ali is on his way. Hopefully he'll join us here shortly. So, comments of public interest.
Comments of public interest. This portion of the meeting is to allow up to 3 minutes per speaker with 30 total minutes on items of interest or concern and not on items that are on the current agenda. The Planning and Zoning Commission may not discuss these items but may respond with factual or policy information. The Planning and Zoning Commission may choose to place the item on a future agenda. The presiding officer may modify these times as deemed necessary. We have one speaker, Mr. Bob Pennell with NTMHMNL.
Good evening, sir. If you'll just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Chairman Ratcliffe, and the commissioners and staff. And I especially am glad to see Mr. Mike Bell sitting here. And I make public profession right now that I forgive him for all the grief he's caused me throughout the years. And I look forward to Mr. Drew Bronner for reconciling all of that grief for all these years. Anyway, for the record, I'm Bob Pennell. I'm a 45-year resident of Plano, Texas, living at 3209 Winchester on the west side. I'm also a member of Plano Masonic Lodge number 768 AF and AM, and have been since 1985 when I moved here from San Antonio. I'm a past master and the current Secretary Director of its affiliated North Texas Masonic Historical Museum and Library. My purpose, Mr. Chairman, tonight is to thank not only the Commission, but especially to thank your first Vice Chair, Commissioner Bronski, who graced us 2 Saturdays ago with his lovely lady when we celebrated 100 years occupancy of possibly the most notable downtown historic landmark and designated heritage resource, the Morehouse Plano Lodge building. And we thank him for being there. He was there when the mayor gave us a proclamation and even sat through the presentation, which was a long history of what we had done there from 1924 and even before until the present day. But we thank you, the commissioners, for dedicating your time, devoting your service. That's something we as Masons understand. And because of you, you've made our life better, our city prominent, and you've made Masonry possible. Thank you, and thank you, Vice Chair Bronski, and tell your lovely lady she was awfully gracious to us before she left. You made our evening enjoyable and made it a success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your comments. All right, consent agenda.
Consent agenda. The consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion and contains items that are routine and typically non-controversial. Items may be removed from this agenda for individual consideration by commissioners or staff.
Commission, does anybody like to remove an item from the agenda tonight? Are you wanting to make a motion? But before we go to a motion in a second, we do have one registered speaker, Lucilio Pina. I think you meant to register for item 1 on the regular agenda, not. That's correct. Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I didn't call your name. Okay, we will move you to that item. Thank you for clarifying. All right, Commissioner Bronski.
I move we approve the minutes as submitted by and recommended by staff.
Commissioner Lingenfelter. Whoop, hang on. There we go. Now try it again.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right, items for individual consideration.
Items for individual consideration. Public hearing items. Unless instructed otherwise by the chair, speakers will be called in the order registrations are received. Applicants are limited to a total of 15 minutes of presentation time with a 5-minute rebuttal if needed. Remaining speakers are limited to 30 total minutes of testimony time with 3 minutes assigned per speaker. The presiding officer may modify these times as deemed necessary. Administrative consideration items must be approved if they meet city development regulations. Legislative consideration items are more discretionary, except as constrained by legal considerations. For non-public hearing items, the presiding officer will permit limited public comment for items on the agenda not posted for a public hearing. The presiding officer will establish time limits based upon the number of speaker requests, length of the agenda, and to ensure meeting efficiency, and may include a total time limit.
All right, item
Read-
1.
Would you like me to read both?
Yeah, let's see, run at 1A and 1B together, please.
Agenda item number 1A, a request to rezone from agricultural to single-family residence attached and for a specific use permit for a private street subdivision on one lot on 3.2 acres located on the southwest corner of Windhaven Parkway and Red Wolf Lane. This item was tabled on August 18th, 2025. The petitioner is Trammell Crow Company, number 43 et al. This item is for legislative consideration. Agenda item number 2B, Austin Ranch Phase 8 Addition, Block A, Lot 1. 15 single-family residence attached on one lot on 2.3 acres located on the southwest corner of Windhaven Parkway and Red Wolf Lane. Zoned agricultural. The applicant is Trammell Crow Company, number 43 et al. This item is for administrative consideration pending approval of agenda item 1A.
Just for clarification, you said item 2B. I think you meant item 1B, correct?
Pardon, 1B, correct.
Just want to make sure we're on the, okay, so item 1A and 1B is the ones we're considering. All right. Yes, sir. Hang on. Yes, sir.
I just noticed item 1A lists 3.2 acres and item 1B says 2.3 acres.
Yes, that's correct. So the 3.2 acres is for the zoning boundary for to the center line of the adjacent right-of-ways, and then the concept plan just shows for the property, which is 2.3 acres. So that's the discrepancy.
Thank you.
Good catch. Thank you. All right. Staff presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Molly Coriel, Interim Lead Planner. The subject property related to these items is located at the southwest corner of Windhaven Parkway and Red Wolf Lane. And here is the associated concept plan with the zoning petition, which we will get into more detail later. The request is in two parts. Item 1A, the zoning petition, includes a request to rezone the subject property from agricultural to single-family to agriculture to single-family attached, as well as a specific use permit for a private street subdivision. Item 1B is the associated concept plan that is a part of this request. The concept plan shows 15 single-family attached units with detached garages on a single lot, which you can see here. The stars represent each single-family unit, and then the triangles are for the related detached garages. Primary access for these townhomes is from a one-way slip road parallel to Windhaven Parkway, which you can see the arrows showing the direction of the one-way road. And then the detached garages are served by an alley, which connects to the slip road. Alley access will connect to the driveway, serving the adjacent multifamily development to the west as well. The private street subdivision requires a specific use permit request. The private streets must be designed to the same standards as public streets, which are provided in these street design standards. It's recommended that access to the alley be gated from the adjacent property to the west, as well as additional setback requirements and landscaping, which are stipulations also associated with the SUP. To the north, east, and south of the property are existing single-family detached neighborhoods. Multifamily unit uses are located to the west of the property within the city of The Colony. The proposed rezoning request would provide a compatible transition between the multifamily development and adjacent single-family neighborhoods. Additionally, the placement of higher-density single-family along major arterial roadways is consistent with the typical neighborhood design set forth in the comprehensive plan. The subject property is located within the neighborhoods category of the future land use map. Per the analysis of the comprehensive plan, the request to rezone the subject property from agricultural to single-family residence attached is consistent with the description of the neighborhood category, as single-family residential is supported as a primary use within these areas. The description of the category emphasizes the need for a new residential infill products to be within the context, to fit within the context of the surrounding environment. The location of this development aligns with the typical neighborhood design recommendation for locating attached residential development along major roadways and neighborhood edges to provide appropriate transitions. Additionally, the request would bring the neighborhood category closer to the recommended range of the mix of uses. And the request is in alignment with the character-defining elements as well. Overall, the request is in conformance with the comprehensive plan's future land use map and related policies. As far as responses received for this case, within the subject property, one response in support of the item was received by the property owner. And then within 200 feet of the request, 12 letters in opposition were received, which represents 3.5 acres or 39.7% of the surrounding property. Overall, 91 responses were received. 90 of them are within the city of Plano, and one of them is located outside of Plano's city limits. That's excluding the duplicate responses indicated on this slide. In summary, the proposed SFA district is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the SUP request for a private street subdivision meets all requirements of the subdivision ordinance and street design standards. And lastly, the associated concept plan meets all applicable requirements for the single-family attached district. Staff is recommending approval for the rezoning from agricultural to single-family residence attached for approval as submitted. And for the specific use permit for a private street subdivision, we are recommending approval subject to any access to adjacent property to the west must be gated. Any street or alley must have a minimum setback of 15 feet from the southern property line, and the setback must include a 10-foot wide landscape buffer, and a minimum 6 feet tall landscape screen will be required between any street or alley and Red Wolf Lane, and no access may be provided to Red Wolf Lane. For item 1B, we're recommending approval subject to City Council approval of the related zoning case, as well as approval of any variances to the International Fire Code by Plano Fire Rescue prior to site plan approval. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions, and the applicant has a presentation as well.
Okay, thank you. One quick question. You said in your presentation that it's adjacent to multifamily, but in looking at the site out there, it looks like this exact kind of single-family attached product is next door. So is that zoned multifamily, but it's developed as single-family attached, or?
It's within a planned development within the city of within the city of the Colony, and it's interesting because to the immediate west, the products there match very closely. They're two-story products with detached garages, which the applicant can talk about more as far as compatibility with the proposed design here. And then as you get closer to Stag Leaps Drive, the buildings along Stag Leaps Drive are more of the three-story, more multifamily projects. So there's definitely a transition between like the lower density, but they're all on the same property, so
Okay.
yes.
That's why I was asking, because, so they're all in the same zoning district, it's just even though it's
PD
developed as
22
a.
is pretty large in the Colony. I don't have a copy of it here with me today, but it's a pretty large boundary, so I imagine there's quite a mix of different uses and stuff allowed by right in that planned development.
But is it fair to say the property right next door is similar to one that's proposed? Is that correct?
The applicant can talk more about that, but as far as height and the form of the projects of the buildings just immediately to the west, I believe that is very similar.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Commission, questions for staff. Commissioner Bronski.
One quick question. I noticed in a lot of the comments that the public made reference traffic studies. Am I correct in understanding that on page 10 of your report, the table and the paragraphs that it includes is representative of a traffic study?
A traffic study was not required to be conducted for this project based on the size and scale. Those numbers that were generated based on the projects were generated by our traffic division here, and that's based on the average amount of trips generated for similar uses. So those numbers were not a result of a traffic study, but a result of staff's analysis.
Okay. I wasn't sure the terminology, but I did want to, that you guys did do some effort as it relates to traffic that would be generated by this
Yes.
development. Thank you.
Commissioner Brunoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the graphic, the concept plan in item 1B. It shows what looks like to be a curb cut, or a median cut, along Windhaven Parkway to allow westbound traffic on Windhaven to make a left turn into the property. Is that median cut present at the moment? And if it's not, who is going to be responsible for putting that in?
Commissioner Brunoff, so sorry, I just want to make sure I understand your question. So there is, on the western side of the property, there's an entryway for the slip road, and that is an existing median opening today for people to turn into the property.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lingenfelter.
I know fire and every department looks at this, but I was concerned about the 16-foot slip road, and traditionally a fire lane is at least 20 feet, 24 feet. How are they getting around? What is going on there?
So fire is able to get access from Windhaven.
So they got a 150-foot hose lay around the whole building from Windhaven, or
I
how does
believe
that work?
one of the, I believe there still needs to be worked out. I believe that there's a hose lay variance that will need to be acquired for site plan approval, which isn't uncommon, but additionally, there was some comments about, I think a fire hydrant needs to be added somewhere on site, but fire indicated that only a variance would be required, so.
So they'd be able to access, I guess the fire hydrant would be along Windhaven, since that's the only access they would have. They actually cannot, they can't get a fire truck in that area.
Right.
That slip road they won't be able to use, so I can tell.
Yes.
So that was a concern, obviously. Okay.
Commissioner Lally.
I have actually two questions. So, my first question is, the height limit is going to be 2 feet,
Commissioner.
2 stories? I'm sorry. Is it the height limit for these detached houses is going to be, 2-story only?
So the height limit for this, for the single-family attached zoning district is 2 stories or 35 feet in height. You have to comply with both. You can't have anything taller than 2 stories or taller than 35 feet. But that height limit is the same as many of the surrounding single-family zoning districts in this area.
And and this is going to be for single family. Is it going to be for, purchase or for rent?
The applicant is showing the project on a single lot, which is allowed per the single-family attached zoning requirements. My understanding is that these will not be for purchase.
Oh, so it's going to be for rent?
It's on a single lot, and so it'll be managed by a single property owner, so I believe so, yes. The applicants can speak more on that.
That's correct. The city's ordinance does not regulate for sale or for rent in this zoning district, in this style of development. So the applicant could choose to rent or to sell them.
Yeah, because, a lot of the comments from the neighbors were, about traffic and everything. So if it's going to be for purchase, single family is just like any other single family around them, right?
Right. Well, the traffic generation would be the same if it was single family, if they were individual lots or they were developed in one lot. The traffic
Yes,
would be
yeah.
the same.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Please note that Commissioner Ali has joined us, so welcome. All right, any other questions of staff? No? Seeing none, let me open the public hearing. And then I believe the applicant has a presentation, and I think we have two different speakers registered from the applicant, Mr. Pena and Ms. Billingsley. So,
Good evening. My name is Susilo Peña. I live at 1720, I reside at 1722 Ruth Street, Suite 770, Dallas 75201. And I want to start off with how we approached this project to begin with, but some questions were asked about compatibility and what we had in mind in terms of approaching it. If you look at the property to the west that is in the city of the Colony, it is all zone multifamily. And our approach was to put the high-density buildings away from Red Wolf Estates and the single family. And so all the buildings went as far to the west as we could on the street, and everything that is adjacent to the existing single family, we put, with the buildings that you saw outlined were actually one-story garages that act as a buffer to the single family. And then on the north side facing Windhaven, the two buildings that you see built there, they are two-story brick buildings that are townhomes, and they are for rent. So our intent was to continue the style and the product type of the two-story townhomes along Windhaven in this section of Plano. So that was the overall approach, that we could have built three-story buildings much closer to the single family, and we deliberately or intentionally didn't, just being sensitive to the neighborhood. Okay. So that is what we are proposing. We have been working on this for quite some time, and over the summer met twice with the HOAs represented in the various neighborhoods to get their feedback in terms of what they wanted and what they didn't. We got a long list of their preferences, but let me jump into the list of what they requested. They wanted to reduce the density somewhat. Right now, we have 2.3 acres. The density here is 6.49 units per acre. We started out with 16 units on 4 buildings, and we now have 15 units on 3 buildings. So it's a slight reduction. On the roads, this seemed to be the biggest concern for all the residents, which was closing access to Red Wolf Estate. They're concerned that the traffic is very heavy on Windhaven, and that they didn't want people from the multifamily cutting across to Red Wolf trying to avoid the traffic. So after going back and forth with the city in terms of traffic and circulation, we agreed to close off all access to Red Wolf Estate. So that was the second item that they had requested. In addition to that, there was a concern over height limit. As was explained earlier, SFA allows 2 stories or 35 feet. We have agreed to self-restrict the townhomes to 25 feet so that we will not be using pitch roofs. This adds to the cost because flat roofs are more expensive, but it's in the spirit of the townhomes we have already built, and we have agreed to add the additional restriction of 25 feet instead of 35 feet. In addition to that, it was requested by the Red Wolf Estate Association to build a 12-foot fence along the south edge of the property. Number one, this is in violation of the city code, which allows a maximum of 8 feet. Somebody on Red Wolf Estates on the southwest corner has built a 12-foot fence next to our property. This is in violation of the city code and should be taken down. And therefore, we did not agree to build a 12-foot fence. In addition to that, they requested a 20-foot landscape buffer on the south side of the townhomes. We have provided in the landscape a 15-foot landscape buffer plus an alley. So there is a larger buffer, but 15 feet of that is landscape. In addition, there was a lot of concern about garbage and dumpsters. We have provided a location for dumpsters on the site as required by code for the city of Plano. So we have that location. It is fully our intent to service this from the multifamily side and not have any dumpsters or garbage on this site. It will be handled by the adjacent site. I know that you can't control that, and therefore we're providing the site for the dumpsters, but it is our intent not to have that there. Those are the main highlights. I think we addressed a lot of the concerns, but I think that there's just an objection to anything that isn't single family on this site, detached single family. But other than that, the main concerns, which were traffic, height, landscape buffer, garbage, et cetera, have all been addressed.
Thank
And I'm
you.
here to answer any further questions, and I think there's other people. And Ms. Corral, do you have the aerial that shows the massing of this product type with the existing property? Let me see if it's further towards the end of this
Yes, I
presentation.
believe if you keep,
Because I think,
yeah.
can you click forward or?
There's like a,
Oh, there, sorry. My apologies. Okay, there you go. This is all the information. Okay, this was the style that we were talking about, but right now it's pretty much going to be along what is on the bottom left in terms of the brick townhomes. These are the unit plans of what we're proposing. This is a section showing the townhomes itself. So on the left would be Windhaven, on the right would be Red Wolf Estates. So you can see the garage, which has the pitched roof, and the townhomes on the left. So you can see where the heights are. This is an aerial that shows the existing townhomes that are built in the back, and then the 3 new buildings that are 5 units each. That gives you a sense of what the overall massing is. And here's one more looking at it from the other side, where we are keeping the landscape buffer to the south and leaving an additional distance just to try to keep as many of the existing trees as possible. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but.
All right, thank you. Commission, questions of the applicant? Commissioner Bronski.
So I've got one question, and I've been looking at this, and I've visited the site. How, in looking at this whole thing going together, I understand that there's a lot of traffic that goes along Windhaven to Midway.
Right.
And I'm wondering, the thing that worries me most is the 52 feet between the slip road and Red Wolf Lane. And have you had any thought about the traffic that may take your slip road to try to get in front of others, to then try to wedge themselves in before they're trying to get to Midway?
Well, we have discussed this at length.
Okay, that's why I wanted to ask.
With the city staff in particular, because there were a lot of concerns, from engineering. And one of the solutions was to make the loop around the site one way so that people wouldn't be getting in, and we ended up doing it all clockwise. But when we agreed to close off access to Red Wolf, this was one of the concerns that came up, and we feel comfortable with the solution that we came up with staff.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is just somebody heading that direction on Windhaven trying to
Cut across.
cut
thought-
around 5 or
Yeah.
6 cars and then wedge themselves back in with 52 feet between that next street when Windhaven is crowded. I just wanted to clarify my understanding of how that worked out for you, so thank you.
pardon, just so the commission and the applicant is aware, we do have one of our senior traffic engineers, Chad Ostrander, here as well. If you have any traffic questions specifically for the city, we can also answer traffic
I'll
questions.
wait till our turnaround.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lingenfelter.
Also, I'll probably talk with the traffic, because that is probably my biggest concern, which I alluded to earlier with the fire lane issue. Are very narrow driving. I mean, you got 10-foot alleys, 16-foot, that slip road, as well as what Commissioner Bronski talked about, being 52 feet from another roadway. Essentially, that's pretty tight from an engineering background. I have a lot of concern with some of that, and I know they alluded to maybe you're already kind of talking about fire access, fire hose lay. Typically, you have a 150-foot hose lay that should cover the entire building. So I don't know you have that. How are you getting through that?
I mean, the fire access is from Windhaven, as was explained earlier, and that is
Yeah.
being met. We studied two different options on this. One was having the slip road in the front, and the other one was not having a slip road at all in the front and just creating a loop that entered from the northwest, went down through the alley, to the alley, so that the residents and any visitors can park in the back, and then would come out at the northeast corner. So if you look at the existing townhomes, they have landscaping in the front. They don't have a slip road. And we proposed both options and went back and forth with the city, but our concern is really getting the access to the garages in the back.
What prevented you from just pulling the buildings forward towards Woodhaven and just having, like you just described, a loop that went around the back and kind of a dual drive back there that would be wider, that would serve the garages as well as be a proper fire lane?
The city has a requirement that we do not allow residential units to front directly on a road as big as Windhaven, so we do require the slip road. And the slip road and the alley are designed to meet our street design standards with the widths as well.
Okay. And I also had another question. You talked about a flat roofs. Do you intend to put AC units on the top of the roof? And then I saw there was a parapet. I couldn't tell by your drawing how tall that parapet is, but I assume it's screening potentially AC units. What are we talking about there?
The AC units will not go on the roof. They will be on the ground. And we are limiting it to 25 feet. So the parapet will be very limited because at 25 feet, you're looking 10-foot floor to floor, 2 feet of structure. So you're looking at 24 feet. You're probably having maximum like a 1-foot parapet. Okay. So restricting it to 25 feet is a big concession, going from 35, which is allowed by SFA, down to 25 feet.
Yeah, I was doing the math. I was like, you're not going to have much room for 25 feet to screen anything. So I was picturing a bunch of AC units sitting on top of these.
And the
buildings.
ones that are built, they're on the ground as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Ali. I got you.
I think the three issues here, one, I think we're going to have the traffic engineer kind of like calm us on that issue. I'm trying to figure out where your trash collection, if you go look at the site there, where would that be? I was trying to look at it on the concept plan, but I couldn't quite pick it out.
Trash collection is along the alley. There's those bump outs,
Those are for residential card service.
and that's for residential card
Gotcha.
service.
So the bump outs kind of in between the garages. Is that what I'm looking at? Okay.
Yes.
It's actually,
Is there a concern that that puts trash collection closer to the single-family detached?
So the requirement for the cart service bump outs were per city's comments so that there was enough room to have cart service provided potentially in the future. However, the property has indicated that they are electing to do their own private trash collection as related to the adjacent property to the west. My understanding is that they do not plan on utilizing those bump outs. However, we are requiring them so that there is enough room to have carts not block the driveways.
And if there's a situation where it's city-provided trash collection, are we confident that the alleyway has enough space to go in and out to do all that?
Yes, this design was evaluated by our environmental health department and given the green light.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Brunoff.
Thank you. Are all these units going to be two-bedroom units?
no, there are 10 two-bedroom units and 5 three-bedroom units.
Okay. I'm looking at the concept plan, and it shows the detached garages. How many parking spaces in the garage are you allowing for each unit?
There are 2 spaces per unit.
Okay,
Plus, all the units allow for tandem parking.
okay,
You can see it on the site plan.
all right. And that's covered in the garage, covered parking in the garage?
Yes.
Okay. Building 3, it looks like the buildings are, or rather, the individual units in that building are a little narrower but longer compared to the units in buildings 1 and 2. Is that correct?
Yes, and those are where the three-story,
Three-bedroom.
those are where the 3-bedroom units are, which is the reason that you have a different floor plan there.
Okay. And do you have a handle on what the rent structure is going to be?
The what, I'm sorry?
Rent structure.
Yes. I don't have it in front of me, but at the time, the HOAs had requested what the rent was, what the occupancy was, what the turnover was, and we gave them all the information. Essentially, these units, there are not a lot of these units around, so when they rent, they don't have a lot of turnover. The residents tend to stay there. It's a pretty stable. There was a lot of concern of you could get a lot of roommates moving in and create a traffic problem, and we gave them all the numbers of what we are seeing in terms of the occupied units, and that is not the case. So our intent is that these would probably be renting at about, call it $225 a square foot. So you would have to have a fairly high income in order to rent in one of these townhomes.
Okay. And what is the square footage of the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom units?
Remind me, Juan, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you want to come down and add to the presentation, that would be great.
That would be great, thank you. Thank you.
If you'd state your name as well, please.
Good evening. Juan Torres, 2152 Springwood in Carrollton, Texas, 75006.
Thank
To answer your question, the 2-bedroom unit has a net rentable square footage of 1,355 square feet, and the 3-bedroom townhome units are 1,731 square feet net. So that's usually what we use as an indicator for against rent.
Times $2.25 a foot?
Yes.
Okay.
These are more than $3,000 a unit
That's correct.
a month. $3,894 for the 3 bedrooms.
I see we have another,
All right, thank you.
if you'd like to step forward, Ms. Billingsley, and introduce yourself, please.
I hate to be left out of the crowd. Lucy Billingsley, 1722 Ruth Street. And it's typical in studying the cost of rent to say, what is that relative to someone's income? And the strike point is usually 28%. So we were, I just lost it, 3 times 2.25 equals times 12. That's $36,000 a year in rent, and then you divide it by 28. Someone's salary should be about $130,000 for the 2-bedroom.
Okay.
And while I'm at the mic, might I say that we appreciate and respect and agree with many of the comments that you all have been making about landscaping and the road and the circulation. And we've come to the conclusions where we are, first off, to respect no access to Red Wolf, and second, everything else is driven by the city, what the city's standards are. So we're doing all these steps strictly to be in compliance. Thank you.
Mr. Brunoff, you have any other questions? Okay. Commission, any other questions of the applicant? Mr. Bronski,
Yeah, Ms. Billingsley?
don't get too far away.
So some of the concerns about these properties are the long-term, you're a long-term player in the city. Is that
Yes.
fair to say?
Right.
And is it my understanding that this is not something you plan on turning over? It's something you plan on maintaining?
That's exactly right. We bought this property over probably 40 years ago now, and the property is actually owned by our children who are in the business. So we are multi-generational, long-term players and have owned the development next door, since we built it.
Thank you very much. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to get that.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have other speakers registered.
We do have two more registered speakers. The first is Bianca Martinez of Midway Park Homeowners Association, followed by Tatiana Ramirez. Please state your name and address.
First timer, so go easy on me here. This is very interesting to watch unfold, and I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. My name is Bianca Martinez, 6009 Madera Court. Let's see. Actually, now that I know there's technology involved, to give you a little bit of perspective, let's see, there was a really good one here a second ago. Okay, so when you're looking at this diagram, and here I am going rogue, I brought the paper. I tried. But so basically, I'm the president of the HOA that you will see in this diagram that is in the, gosh, that's almost my backyard, upper left quadrant there. And so our perspective is very different from everyone else you're going to hear tonight. Essentially, we are probably the least affected by any of this redevelopment, redezoning. But I will say, I think that gives us a unique perspective to kind of look at this objectively and say, hey, we've all looked at this plot of land for quite a while now and said, gosh, what's going to come of that? And as I've learned more, I've spoken with Molly and Chad and everyone really, and gotten to know, the Billingsleys. It's apparent now that it's almost in our best interest to lock this in with people that are willing to work with us. And so you'll see too that like our neighborhood, we don't have access. We have an alternative entrance and exit like into our neighborhood on Midway. So we don't even need to go through the craziness of Austin Ranch. Forgive me for saying that, but we're a little bit less affected on the day-to-day. When we look at like Point West and everyone, I mean, they are always making that left-hand turn over Windhaven. If I'm being quite honest, this isn't a problem regarding this little plot of land. This is more so just the Austin Ranch just growing and growing, and we are the main thoroughfare to get to the tollway. So are these 15 units going to really affect that? No, in my opinion. I think I fought Chad on that initially. I was like, what do you mean? This is, of course, is going to open up a whole artery from the backside. But you know what? I think the biggest thing here is compromise. And, Lucilo, everyone, they were willing to work with us and just kind of say, hey, what do you guys want? And what would make you kind of support this coming to your community? And so in that regard, I was like, well, if I lived in the Fox Hollow neighborhood, I would not want the access point from the back artery of Austin Ranch to end up in this neighborhood. So they were more than willing to close that off entirely, which was huge, because as I came to find out, if that didn't happen at this meeting, that was never going to happen. Once that was there in the sidewalk and you have an egress out into Red Wolf Lane, that was always going to be there unless Billingsley came back and said, oh no, now we want to close it.
30 seconds.
That's not going to happen. And so I was like, what do we do to get this to the point where it's an awkward piece of land? It's not going to, unless anyone here wants to buy it and turn it into a park, which we would, we'd all love. I wouldn't expect, Plano to do that either with, we're surrounded by Arbor Hills and Sunset Park. I mean, I would never ask Plano to, buy the land and turn it into a park either. What are we gonna do with another one? And so when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, I would rather see a controlled set of townhomes that match the ones that are already built next door than have some kind of, urgency where everyone's trying to build more multifamily, and now we're fighting a 3-story something or other that's
you can
entirely according
wrap it
to
up
code.
for us.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, totally. So long story short, I honestly feel like this is a great compromise to what was initially proposed. And I think it would fit into our neighborhood. These kids will go to school with our kids that are tenants here, and we welcome more people coming into our elementary schools and everything. So, long story short, I support this as proposed currently, the revised plan.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, next speaker?
Next speaker is Tatiana Ramirez. Please state your name and address.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Tatiana Ramirez. We have lived in our current home for 11 years and in Plano for 22 years. Our home directly faces the existing townhomes. Given this, I'd like to share my experiences with them. Their alley and our backyard are separated by a brick wall. Since their landscape only includes 2 retained trees and 12 holly shrubs, we have had to dedicate significant time and resources to making up for the lack of an effective buffer. On our side, we now have 13 large evergreen trees. Unfortunately, even these have not provided enough privacy to reduce the noise from the barking dogs, people lingering at night, or cars playing loud music. They have also been unable to block people from repeatedly throwing stuff over the wall, such as trash, toys, cans, and firecrackers, with the latter being a major safety concern. We are also constantly fighting against invasive vines and suffocating weeds coming through the wall, which curl up around our tree trunks and weaken them. We are tired of bringing it up to their groundskeeping to no avail. Despite our extensive landscaping efforts, these problems still remain and are challenging for us. In closing, we respectfully urge you to consider these issues and the consequences that further rezoning would have in our communities. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Have any other registered speakers?
There are no more registered speakers.
Okay, we did have, is it 4 other people register in opposition? Just wanted to acknowledge that we did get your registrations, so thank you very much. So no other speakers registered. I'll close the public hearing. And, oh,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I was registered to speak.
we had, let me reopen the public hearing. Hang on, reopen the public hearing. We had 4 people registered as opinions only who did not want to speak. If you'd like to, we can call your name, and if y'all would like to come up, you're certainly welcome to. So, Henry, if you'd read their names out loud, and if they'd like to come up, we'll certainly let them speak.
Of course, we have Mary Helen Nolan from Point West HOA, and Christy Davidson, followed by Shivani Mehta and Bobby Kalar. So,
Sorry
first
if there
up-
was confusion. You can register to speak or not to speak and just register your opinion, but if you'd like to speak, it is a public hearing. So if you just introduce yourself and your address, please.
My name is Mary Helen Nolan, and I'm the HOA president of Point West Neighborhood, which would be directly north of the proposed project. The 2.5 acres under rezoning consideration, we feel should be consistent with the surrounding Plano, not the colony neighborhoods, i.e. Red Wolf, Point West, Fox Hollow, and Midway Park, which are all single-family homes, not apartment or townhome complexes. Additionally, we would ask that there be a traffic analysis regarding traffic load on Windhaven, as has been articulated earlier. Windhaven carries a heavy traffic load, and this road has become a racetrack for the multiple apartment complexes and puts us at risk daily. I've lived in Plano 15 years in this same home that we built, and I've had a major accident which nearly took my life. And I'm concerned that daily, as we try to cross that road coming out of Point West and make our way east on Midway, it's going to be continuously harder and more difficult. And at age 77, I'm a good driver, but I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands with the situation as it is. And the last point is that we back up to the Billingsley apartment townhomes near us, and the trash containers are forever flooding over. There's not regular removal of the trash, and there's been a rodent problem fairly consistently. So I thank you for being our advocate and defending us toward the petition to deny the Billingsley project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Christy Davidson, followed by Shivani Mehta.
My name is Christy Davidson. I live at 6505 Timberwolf Trail. I've lived in Red Wolf Estates for 24 years, one of the original homes in Red Wolf. And when we bought our house, we always knew the field behind us with the longhorn cattle would not stay. We knew one day it would probably be developed, but we naturally assumed it would be single-family homes like the ones that surround the property now. Never thought it would be an extension of Austin Ranch. In addition to the added traffic that we'll have to deal with, because it will be used as a cut-through. Windhaven comes to a complete stop in the morning, so it'll be a cut-through. We have to contend with the 30 trash bins that'll be behind us, and we'll add to the rodent problem that we do have at this time. But mostly, aesthetically, it doesn't fit on that corner. It doesn't fit with the neighborhood. And once they cut down the trees that border the property that would give us a buffer, we're left with views from our backyard of 25-foot buildings. Not what we signed up for. Again, we have met with them, the representatives, in good faith in hopes of maybe having some input. Our takeaway was quite different, not too neighborly. And I do appreciate the shrubbery they want to use as a buffer, but we all know what shrubs do in August in Texas. They'll be dead. So, our fear is if this zoning is changed, we don't have any assurances of anything, what will actually go there. It scares us. I mean, this is our home, this is where we live, and we just want the best for our families. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Shivani Mehta, followed by Bobby Kalar.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Shivani Mehta, and my family and I live on 6513 Timberwolf Lane. Unlike many speakers, we are new transplants to City of Plano, but we come committed. We uprooted our kids, 10 and 8-year-old daughters, from Orlando, very happy place for them, to the City of Plano, and we are here because my husband is adding 150 jobs to the City of Plano, all high-paying, six-figure jobs, and building office in Granite Park. So I am here to oppose this development site. I want to start by first acknowledging the builder's effort to bring new housing opportunities to Plano and to express that we as neighbors, neighboring homeowners are not opposed to responsible development. Our goal is to simply ensure that any project approved aligns with the Plano's zoning principles, particularly those related to compatibility, privacy, aesthetics, and neighborhood character. Again, City of Plano, not the colony. So several aspects of this proposal conflicts with those objectives. The increased in height and density will create significant sightline and privacy intrusions, particularly because our backyard, where our two young daughters play, is directly adjacent to the development. Additionally, the proposed removal of mature trees that serve as a natural privacy and sound buffer contradicts to the city's tree preservation and landscape buffer policies under Article 17 of Plano's zoning ordinance, which encourage maintaining screening and canopy buffers between residential uses. Furthermore, Plano City's zoning ordinances and the city's comprehensive plan together restrict the development of multifamily units in areas that are surrounded by single-family homes. Specifically, the zoning code removes multifamily housing as an allowed use in designated residential community districts, meaning that these areas are reserved for single-family residences and not permitted for multifamily development. The Plano Comprehensive Plan reinforces this policy by stating that single-family residential should remain the primary use within neighborhoods and encouraging the preservation and enhancement of these uses. Any new residential development, including multifamily, must be appropriate for the area based on the future land use map and site-specific consideration. The plan explicitly
30
remits
seconds.
small-scale. Sorry.
30 more seconds.
Okay. So I think you get the point. We are opposed. I respectfully request that the commission reject the rezoning effort. And thank you for your time and for upholding the planning standards. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Next speaker is Bobby Kalar.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Cooler, 6528 Timberwolf Trail, Plano. We have lived in Plano for 20 years. I've been a resident of Red Wolf Estates for the last 14. I am that someone that the gentleman behind me referred to earlier as having built a 12-foot fence for which we have a variance request into City of Plano. We have a hearing scheduled for November 11th for it as well. The neighbors next to me who have been there for 30-plus years have a 10 to 12-foot concrete fence. I'm surprised that they never brought that up before. My home actually sits behind the 3-story buildings that were built. I have 178 windows and doors looking straight into my house, into my swimming pool, my master bathroom, my master bedroom. From my family room, I can see a 6-story garage building that's been there. Well, it's my fault. I didn't bring it up when that development was going on. But what my neighbors are about to experience is exactly what we've been living with. The reason this 12-foot fence issue was brought up by the gentleman behind me, 2014, their trees fell on my fence. We reached out. At that time, there was no development there. We heard from no one. We paid for that fence. We built it back up. In 2024, their trees fell again on our fence. This time, I reached out to them, and I was told to settle for 10% of the portion of where the trees fell. And we had repeatedly requested them, please prune the trees, take care of this. This is a constant issue, what these guys are facing as well behind me. When they came back with the ridiculous offer of fixing part of the fence, I have sought legal counsel. We are in a lawsuit with these folks behind me, and their legal counsel threatened me to go to City of Plano and say, well, you built a 12-foot fence. It'll be interesting if City of Plano finds out about it. Sure enough, 2 days later, there was an inspector at my door. But like I said, we have followed the process. We have a variance request in, and we have a Board of Adjustment hearing scheduled for that as well. So their future is what we are living currently. The 3-story buildings, 200-plus windows looking at us, and yes, I have the trash bins right behind my fence. So rodents, all of that stuff is real. Anybody on this board is more than welcome to come
30 seconds.
to the facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, do we have any other speakers?
There are no further speakers or registered opinions for this item, but for item 1B, there is one registered opinion. I don't know
Okay,
if-
why don't we go ahead and let that person speak if they'd like to?
So that is Aaron Sisson.
Aaron, if you'd like to speak.
Please state your name and address.
Sorry, it's my first time. My name is Aaron Season. I'm from 8300 Elk Mountain Trail from McKinney. I'm not really like a member of Plano. The reason why I'm here was to hear you guys discuss about the various urban projects around this area. So why I find it interesting is that the company who plans to build the multifamily and zoning units, they're trying to make sure that they meet all the safety standards and regulations. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, they have to meet all the city codes, so.
Okay. And what I also understand is that a lot of residents are complaining about it because there's said to be a lot of trash, a lot of rodent problems happening around here. Is that also true?
I believe that's what the comments have generally reflected this evening.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is that I'm not really sure if there's any construction going on next to these family places and whether people out there are fighting against it and able to win it or not. So I'm not really an expert on it. I just want to know what's actually going on.
Yeah, so I think that's the purpose of the hearing tonight, is to make sure everybody's aware of what's being proposed in their neighborhood. And so in this particular case, we're just talking about this one tract, but you're certainly welcome to follow along with what we do and on other projects as well.
I can also ask another thing. Is this the first time that whenever someone or some contractor decides to build like a two-story townhome or any other adjacent single-family homes, that people have complaints about that?
It varies by tract, so we have requirements under our ordinance and also under state law to have public hearings for different cases. So it depends on, it's very site-specific, but it was not the first time.
It's
that
not the first
we've had
time.
public hearings regarding development. We have
So
one
there've
almost
been-
every meeting.
Okay, so there have been arguments about whether it meets the subdivision organization and the substandard safety standards. Okay, then if anything else, then I don't really have anything else to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so now I'll close the public hearing and reserve comments to the commission. Does the commission have any other questions before we get into our comments for staff? I think there were a lot of questions about traffic, so why don't we deal with that first? Commissioner Alali.
So I did have a question to staff. Now we're voting for changing from agriculture to single-family attached, and not multifamily like 3 or 4-story residents, right?
That is correct.
For the zoning, these are single-family attached.
Yes, so single-family attached, which is different from multifamily.
Yes.
And there's a limit to the height, like you said, and then the applicant also confirmed that it's going to be 25 foot.
Yes, so the Article 9.1000 of the zoning ordinance is what dictates the zoning requirements for the single-family attached district. The applicant's request to develop single-family townhomes on one lot is permitted per the single-family attached zoning district. It's not multifamily.
And I do have another question, because of the flat roof, are they gonna, the residents have the opportunity to use those flat roofs? Or is it gonna be like a roofing system that they cannot use? Is there a limit or construction, like a regulation prohibits the use of roofs?
Why don't we, okay, real quick.
Sorry about that.
Just to answer your question, no, those roofs will not be used under any circumstances. Roofs that are used for terraces or anything else are very, very expensive, and it's a completely different type of construction, so there's no way that these would be used in any way.
So just
Thank you.
regular, a flat roof, TPO or something like that?
It would be a TPO roof. That's exactly what it would be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bronski.
I just wanted to make a quick clarification. You mentioned the 25-foot height. I just want to let the commission know that is not a restriction that can be placed on this. It's a straight rezoning, so it would follow the maximum height of the zoning district, which is 2-story, 35 feet.
So can I clarify that just to make sure? So that the 35-foot would be to the top architectural element, is that correct?
It's the average. It varies by roof type, but the highest point on the average of the 4 points for a flat roof.
Okay, for if it's flat roof. So it'd still be restricted to 2 stories?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Commissioner Bronski, I took some of your time.
No. Okay, let's talk traffic on Windhaven heading east. So from my understanding, it's mile and a half from Redwood, or Red Wolf to Midway? Is that about right?
It's less than that.
Less than that?
Please
Okay.
state- Chad, please state your name and title.
Yes,
for the
my
record.
name is Chad Ostrander. I'm a senior traffic engineer with the City of Plano.
So what's the approximate distance then? Ballpark?
1,500 feet.
1,500 feet, okay. So is it fair to say that traffic backs up on Windhaven to the west of what this proposed development's going to be?
Yes, it does not back up all the way to Stag's Leap, but in the AM peak, when people are heading towards Dallas North Tollway, it does back up into this section.
Okay. So my concern is that, especially even Ms. Martinez mentioned that this backup, that the slip road be used to cut out, I don't know, how many cars are the length of that slip road to get around to the front of, so what, and then with only being 52 feet to Red Wolf, that could really cause some traffic problems, if not accidents or angry people watching this transpire, or even backing traffic up onto the slip road while several people try to make that loop.
So the 50-foot separation from the driveway to a residential local street is compliant with the street design standards. Our requirement is 50-foot tangent, and they're just over that. So they do meet that. In regards to using it as a potential cut around to skip, maybe 20 cars, that could happen. It could happen with any of our cross-access type facilities that occur throughout Plano. And I don't see that, as a driver, I don't see that would save significant time, because
I'm not suggesting that it saves time. I'm suggesting,
yeah, I
because
can
I've
see
read some of the
drivers-
studies that talk about even when you're weaving back and forth, you're saving less than 2 or 3 minutes on an hour drive.
Yeah.
My thing is I could see this road backing up and then trying to get back out. To me, it's just, from a traffic engineering standpoint, it just seems to me to be very challenging or difficult, especially with that distance to Red Wolf.
When we were working with the Billingsleys and the land developer, we specifically chose we requested to put this driveway where it is, to be in relation to the hooded left that's there. I can get back to that.
Yeah.
There. So there's a hooded left just to the west of Redwood Lane to access that neighborhood that's to the north. And we didn't want traffic conflicts with that and people trying to cut across Windhaven to use that turn lane to go west. We would rather them go to the driveway to the west of them and use the full median opening. So that's why we chose to put the driveway where it's at, to minimize people trying to cut across and use that. So I agree that people could use that slip lane as a cut around. In what we see in terms of safety around the city, that is not a significant source of wrecks at other driveways. It's more often when people are moving at speed and trying to turn into a driveway, and they either don't get fully into the right turn lane, there's not a right turn lane, or they don't use their blinker, and that you get the rear ends. It's not often that when traffic is moving slowly and in these high traffic times and people are trying to get around and just cut in front of somebody, people are driving slow enough that those accidents don't occur as often.
Yeah, I mean, I frankly, I drive up Custer and I watch people cut through the parking lots to get around 2 or 3 cars. And so
Yep.
that's my concern. So my second concern is the exit 52 feet from Wolf Lane. if somebody's exiting there and happens to want to go west on Windhaven, they're going to cross over 3 lanes. What's the distance there to get to that? Can they make a U-turn there?
We have signed that as no U-turn. So if they did that, it would be in violation of our city ordinances, and PD could stop them and pull them over and give them a ticket.
So I'm looking at it right now, and there is no U-turn sign there.
I agree with that.
On Google
We-
Maps.
Yes, I misspoke. We have, in speaking with the neighborhoods, once this goes into effect, we have work orders in place to put a no U-turn sign here and a no U-turn sign at the additional, or at the next median opening to the west, to try and minimize that. In talking with some of the HOAs, that was one of their concerns, is people trying to make that movement. And so we preemptively have that planned to go ahead. We're not going to do that until that goes to construction.
Sure, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, that is, that's all I have for right now. But thank you very much, Chad, for your input and for your work on this project.
Commissioner Raleigh.
Just one from a traffic perspective. So right now, Windhaven has a traffic problem. We have 15 families, units, what have you, proposed here. How much more volume or additional traffic congestion do we think this would cause? So if we have 100 cars bumper to bumper, I'm making stuff up, does this add 2 more cars, 5 more cars, 20 more cars? What do you
So residential units are the lowest trip generation type of land use. So in general, it's about 0.6 trips per unit in the peak hour. So they're
10-ish.
Yeah, if that. We calculated, I think, 8 in the peak hour, in the worst of the 2 peak hours. So this is not going to add hardly anything to what's already out there.
To Commissioner Bronski's concern about using the slip road to, for some reason, like get in front of a couple of cars, is there anything we can do at those entries into the slip road that, for lack of a better word, dissuades, I don't know, put a speed bump going in or something?
So we could request them to put speed bumps along that slip lane. That could dissuade traffic from using that as a bypass. That also, we'd also have to talk with the fire department, because our traditional speed bump program now uses the rubber speed bumps for these wider sections that allow the fire truck to go past without having to slow down. And with this smaller section, I don't think we have a traditional layout for the speed bumps on this smaller section. So I think we would have to go in with something that wouldn't quite comply with the traditional fire-rated speed bumps. So we would have to run that by them.
A non-traffic question. Might be coming off of the Congress's recent session, SB, I don't know what the number is. Is there any, is it 15? Yeah. Is there any impact from legislature that almost ties our hands in any way in this?
No, this does not qualify for SB 15 because it's under 5 acres.
Okay, under 5 acres. Thank you.
Commissioner Lingenfelter.
Thank you. I was trying to determine if it was under SB 15 as well. That was going to be one of my questions. But from a traffic standpoint, I think you've addressed a lot of what Commissioner Bronski had alluded to, some of my concerns. I know the speed bump thing probably isn't an issue because it's not actually going to be a fire lane, because they're going to be accessing from Windhaven, sounds like anyway. So a fire truck's not going to be using that. Just what I've deducted from what we've already had talked about. However, what happens, and this may be just a scenario, what happens if somebody comes in the out that's next to Red Wolf, and how does that come how do people get out of that oops, for say, because now there's people coming at them, and they've got to now back up into Windhaven to get out of the way.
So I believe the slip road off of Windhaven was going to be two-way, and just the alley was one-way. Is that correct, Molly?
No, it is a one-way.
It's one-way, the full
one-way
thing?
slip
Okay.
road.
So
Yeah,
then we would
16
require
feet,
them to
so-
sign, we would, I think the best design, and this can be worked out at preliminary site plan and site plan phases, the best design would be to channelize that, to force it to be an out, and use a more 45-degree type driveway, or maybe not quite 45-degree, because that would encourage people to kind of come out at speed, but something that discourages people from going in that route.
It's going to be too hard for them to make that turn. Okay.
Yes.
All right, that was a suggestion. I was concerned about that because I can see somebody just unknowingly turn into there and then they're stuck. And now they're backing up into Windhaven. I had the SB 15 question. That's been cleared up. Another question now, it's not traffic related. This is for the city. Do we want to wait for, or can I make my question?
No, if you've got other questions for staff.
Okay,
now's
yeah,
the
for
time.
staff, really. What other options, what other things have been talked about with the developer as far as screening goes? Because it sounds like there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of unwillingness to fully screen things the way maybe the residents might be acceptable to. And I'm just trying to see what all we talked about. I mean, they brought up a 12-foot fence, kind of a attack on the resident thing kind of thing. I didn't take note to that very well. But as far as screening, it sounds like that's going to be a big deal. Having a nice fence, having a good tree line, make it so that you don't have such visibility for, say, noise, trash, all kinds of stuff. What all has been explored there?
So in talks with the city and the developer, screening between residential uses is typically not required. In our pre-application meeting, we discussed that there is a good inventory of mature trees on site, and so preserving as many trees as possible along the southern and now eastern property line would be preferred for their design, as well as to be an appropriate buffer. Throughout the zoning case and the zoning process, some of the surrounding neighbors brought up a desire to have a 10 or 12-foot high screening wall. However, our ordinances only allow a maximum height of 8 feet. So that was not an option that we could present to the applicant. Based on the rerouting of the alley, we do not require screening when the rear of residences are not backed up to the alley. So for rerouting it to the slip road along Red Wolf Lane, so it's parallel, we do not require a screening wall between the alley and Red Wolf Lane. However, with the associated private street subdivision, SUP, we are requiring that a 6-foot minimum height landscape screening wall be maintained between that alley and Red Wolf Lane to allow for additional screening and to help preserve the existing inventory.
And it's a masonry screening wall?
No. It's a landscape screening wall.
Oh, landscape.
Yes, we do not require masonry screening wall when the rear of residences is not backed up between an alley. So, but the existing landscaping in that along the eastern and southern property line is pretty ample. So the goal is to irrigate it and.
If I could add, Ms.
continue to
Corio,
maintain it.
original designs had this as a public alleyway, and staff's comments were actually to pull the alley closer to the south to avoid creating kind of an orphan lot between the alley and then the homes to the south. And the applicant was concerned about removing those trees. And so the solution was then to make it a private street so they can maintain that all on one lot and preserve those existing trees.
Okay. And then that drive to the west, that's totally cut off, or are there's still a drive, concrete, going to be maintained there, and they're just fencing it off or something? What
Pardon
is-
me, Commissioner Lingenfelter, you're talking about the connection between the
Yes.
subject property and the western property. That will, one of the stipulations for approval is that it be gated. However, the applicant has indicated that that point will be used for maintenance, trash pickup, concierge service between the existing property management and the subject property.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out the point to even leaving that access point, so that's what I was.
So it'll be used for maintenance services.
Okay, but that maintenance truck would then have to loop all the way around to get to the recycle bins.
If it were, if there wasn't that connection point, then yes, they would have to.
But I mean, they're going to go against traffic flow if they turn right from there.
You gotta make the clockwise
Yeah,
loop
because the
around.
arrows are going left.
So, but the alley will tend to be one way based on the natural flow of traffic for cars, but I believe golf carts are typically the maintenance vehicles used, so I think just a golf cart kind of using the gate, going in, picking up trash, and then making their way back through the
Okay.
gate
I was
probably
pi-
won't be too much of a disturbance.
I was picturing like the dump truck that comes to our house and picks up the brown bin kind of thing.
I think golf carts have been what has
okay.
been communicated, yes.
That was it.
Okay. Commissioner Bronski, you have a follow-up question?
I do. She mentioned the entrance to the west, the gated entrance.
Mhm.
Is that required to stay locked other than whenever it's being used by maintenance?
The requirement is that the connection point be gated. That is what the stipulation says.
So my question is, we require dumpster doors on all of our dumpsters in the city.
Sorry,
and so-
Commissioner Bronski. These will not be serviced by a dumpster. These will be serviced by cart service.
No, I understand. So
Oh,
my
sorry.
question is, we require doors on dumpsters, and we don't require them to be closed. So if you drive through the city, you will find a lot of dumpsters that have doors sitting wide open. So my concern is this just required to have a gate, or is it actually required to use the gate so that the gate stays locked other than when their maintenance is using it?
The requirement is that it be gated. That's it. The implication is that it will remain gated unless needed, but if we need more specificity in the language, you're welcome to add those to the specific use permit stipulations.
Could I just ask someone from the Billingsley if that's something they would consider?
Yeah, if they can keep their answer real short.
I appreciate your desire to make sure that that doesn't have cut through, but I just want it for clarity's sake.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
That was real short, thank you. Other questions?
No, that's all. If we could
All right.
figure out a way to ask.
So I saved my turn till last, so couple of questions for staff, just to make sure that it's really crystal clear. I think because this is shown as neighborhood in the master plan, the comprehensive plan, a lot of people may have assumed it was going to be single-family. But, and so it is single-family attached. I want to make sure that make sure this is crystal clear for everybody involved. The massing, the height of the buildings, the windows, all those things are not, the requirements are no different than what it would be if somebody was building a single-family residence on this same parcel, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so the screening, the traffic, the noise, the trash, all of those same requirements would apply as whether it's single-family detached or single-family attached.
That is correct.
Okay, so if, for example, somebody decided they wanted to build single-family residences on here, and they wanted to put an alley in the exact same place, and they wanted to have their garages open to the exact same location, and they wanted to have their building be 2 stories tall with windows on the back, as a detached product, that would be allowed as well.
If the zoning were approved, yes.
If it was zoned as single-family
Detached.
Okay. So for the purposes of the residents, I just want to make sure that we're clear. I understand there's a lot of concern about the three-story multifamily down around the corner. But as far as neighbors are concerned, if it was a single-family residence, you would have the exact same potential questions about garages, about alleys, about windows as you have today. And so we obviously have to look at that as a city about what's the best land use, but we also are listening or hearing what you're saying. But I want to make sure that y'all understand that if we looked at a different case, I'm not sure it would answer those questions any differently than the answers you're hearing tonight. So I'll be happy to talk to y'all after the meeting. So I just want to make sure that that's the way I'm looking at it, and I think I wanted to make sure we were clear about the boundaries of what we're considering. So with that said, I do have a traffic question, one last traffic question. The current loop road alley is 10 foot, 12 foot?
The actual pavement is 10 foot, however, the actual alley the typical right-of-way width is 15 feet with 10 of that being pavement. So it is meeting the alley requirements per the street design standards.
Okay, but in turning radiuses and everything, we're okay with one day if there had to be a trash truck that went through here, that we have adequate pavement width and turning radiuses, et cetera, for trash service should it ever be needed in the future?
Our development engineers would look at that, and I believe they have reviewed that.
I know you'll get to a detailed engineering
Yeah,
plan ultimately.
During the civils, we'll look at all of that, yes.
Okay, that was just my concern. I know you'll look at that as part of our deal. It has to pass engineering review, but just wanted to get on the record, that was one of my concerns about making sure we didn't have trash trucks running off in the dirt one day should that ever happen.
No, we don't want that.
Okay, all right. I think those were all of my questions. Commission, any other questions for staff or any other comments at this time? Is anybody prepared to make a motion? Commissioner Brunoff.
Oh, I just want to make a comment. The factors to me that are most important in looking at this case are that this proposal is completely consistent with the comprehensive plan. It is completely consistent with the future land use map. The developer has apparently gone out of his way to compromise to the extent that he reasonably can with the neighbors to try to allay some of their concerns. I was impressed that with Ms. Martinez's attitude, recognizing the good faith that the developer has shown in trying to satisfy the concerns from the neighbors. The concerns that were raised, I think, have been adequately addressed. From the standpoint of traffic, 15 units are not going to generate a significant amount of additional traffic. There just aren't enough cars there. From the standpoint of buffering, the developer has gone out of his way to voluntarily restrict the height to 25 feet with a flat roof instead of a pitched roof. He has gone out of his way to provide detached garages, which will protect line of sight to a certain degree between the second story of the main building and the houses to the south. He's providing a 15-foot separation between the southern boundary of the driveway and the southern property line, 10 feet of which will be a landscape screen. Mention was made a minute or two ago about preserving as much of the existing vegetation in that strip as possible. When I drove down there yesterday, I noticed that I could not see through that existing landscape. It is already an existing landscape screen, and it is impermeable to sight. The developer has eliminated any connection with Red Wolf Lane. In driving by the property, I went ahead to the next door 2 units, and I looked them over, and I even drove around the back side of them. I noticed that the front and the back, first of all, the buildings are very handsome. They are a brown masonry, brick, similar to what the same developer put in the Beacon Square development on Coit Road, which is quite handsome, and has told us that they're proposing a similar design and treatment for this project. The landscaping was pristine. We've just been through August, and the landscaping was green. It was not brown. It wasn't dead. It was well trimmed and watered both in front and in back. I did not see a single piece of trash in sight anywhere. I didn't hear any noise anywhere. I didn't see any broken down cars, broken down washing machines, refrigerators, chairs, or anything, any other form of trash out in public. I saw one car leave the development and one motorcycle leave the development while I was there. But it was basically an attractive project to look at and to drive through. I also drove through Timberwolf Trail, and I found the homes there to be exceedingly attractive and desirable, notwithstanding that they back up on the western side to the three-story apartment complex in the Colony. I also drove through the neighborhood on the eastern side of Red Wolf Lane, and although the houses are smaller, they are still very attractive and a very desirable neighborhood to live in, notwithstanding that there is an MF3 apartment multifamily complex catty-cornered across the intersection of Midway Road and Windhaven Parkway. I have not seen any visible evidence of negative impacts from multifamily or single-family attached affecting this neighborhood. I think the applicant has proposed to do everything he possibly can to try to make this a compatible development. As the staff has pointed out, this development will provide a transition from the multifamily over in the Colony to the single-family to the east. And from a planning standpoint, I think that's a good thing. I think this, considering it's a small plot of land, and they've proposed a viable use for it, I think it's a good thing.
Thank you. Commissioner Raleigh?
I'll echo a lot of what Commissioner Bruno just said. The three things I wanted to hear that we are concerned were traffic mitigation, enough of a buffer screening from a privacy perspective to the neighborhood behind, and also just general care and concern for the area. Also hold in intention the fact that the already developed, I forget, the buildings to the side on the Colony, you know, that's not Plano, right? Perhaps if that patch of land was ours, we would have forced a similar 25-foot, you know, to respect the integrity of that neighborhood corner, but that is the Colony. The price point that will be brought into this area, especially given the price point of the existing housing stock around it, will, in my view, will force the behavior.
Let me interrupt you a little bit. We really shouldn't be talking about price point.
That's fair. All that to say, from a comprehensive plan perspective, diversification of housing stock coming into the area is something that we have tried to drive as we crafted a comprehensive plan and the guiding principles, and designating this a neighborhood corner. And at the end of the day, if I can think of a better use, would you want single-family detached? Yeah, if you could get it, but again, that will bring, like you adroitly pointed out, a similar traffic, if any, you know, extra garbage cans and what have you that would be needed to by those residents. So I am in favor of approval of this. I could make a motion if you're ready, or leave open for more comments.
I don't see any other comments, so, hey, well, hang on, we just had one, so, hang on just a second. So, Commissioner Lally.
Yes, I just did a quick calculation, rough calculation, let's say, and you're like in the rate, you're like the, it's about, you're like 8,500 square foot per unit now, which is, you're like, we have single family 6, right? SF6 around the area, so it's going to be the same, similar density of the neighboring. It's not going to be, I know that it's going to be different from the SF20 to the south, but you know, like, it's similar to the density of the surrounding properties as well, so. Yeah, it's not going to be different. I know that, you know, like, the residents are they have a lot of concerns, but like if they look at it, it's not going to add a lot of density to this area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Ali, back to you. Oop, there you go. There you go.
I move we approve agenda item number 1A, zoning case 2025-006, as recommended by staff.
Commissioner Bronski.
Can I just ask if we have some sort of added language as it relates to the gate, as Ms.
Why don't-
Billingsley agreed?
I think that would be more with 1B, if we.
Yeah, that'd
add
be on
that
1B. This is
stipulation
a
to 1B.
zoning case.
Okay.
So if you're, are you prepared to second that, or you want to, or
This,
not?
this will be with the specific use permit. The gated stipulation is for 1A, the
Oh, it
private
is
street.
1A.
The private
Okay.
street subdivision SUP.
All right. So
Give me the language.
you have that's, Mr. Bronski, would you like to suggest language to be added to the motion?
I don't know the exact language that I just want to make sure that we don't have a problem with the gate being there, but the residents ultimately having somebody cut through that because the gate's open. So I'm not sure the language that we
Can
would
I
want.
suggest, Commissioner Ali, that you modify your motion to say that this should be amended to include controlled access gate?
I will gladly do that. I move that we approve agenda item number 1A with the stipulation of a controlled access gate to the west of the property.
So I am prepared,
Okay.
I am prepared to make a second with just the comment that I do have some concerns as it relates to the traffic and the things I've mentioned, and I hope the city engineer, traffic engineering stays on top of this, including the U-turn. And if we do look at some way of discouraging people cutting across that with some sort of bumpers on the ground or some, I forgot what it's called. But, so I second the motion as, yes, sir?
I think some of those comments would be related to 1B, but duly noted.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify that so that we're clear on the motion, because staff's recommendation is a two-parter. We have the recommendation on the zoning change, which was approval as submitted, and then approval of the specific use permit for the private seat subdivision, which included the 3 stipulations, of which you're requesting to add the controlled access gate.
Yes.
For the SUP portion of that.
Correct, yeah. I think that was the intent. Is that correct from the person who made the motion? Okay.
And the second.
And the second. And we will leave it up to the staff, I presume, to define how to do the controlled access. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments by commissioners? Seeing none. Oop, Commissioner Lingenfelter?
I know it's probably not, it's probably something we can't do, but I am concerned about still, I know that the trees are very screened at the moment, but then it does look quite a bit will be coming down, and there will be holes throughout the site that's common to the single family. I personally would like to see better screening there. That's between the alley and the trash bins and then the residents. I would have liked to have seen a little more screening there. But I was just a comment. I think it would have been proper for the existing residents to at least do something there.
Okay. Commissioner Bronski?
As I look at the property line to the south there, I don't notice any of those trees coming out, at least according to the map that I'm looking at on 1B. So it would seem like they made a conscious effort, even on the areas that kind of divot in, to maintain all of the, well, I guess possibly 885 and, but it appears like they made a real conscious effort to maintain as many trees as they could. Sorry.
Oop, sorry. Hang on, your mic's off. Let me turn you back on here. There you go.
No, I agree. They kept a lot of them. I just, I think it would have been a good effort, I guess, to screen that a little better. So.
Okay, any other comments prior to the vote? All right, we have a motion and a second. Everybody please vote. Motion passes 5-1. All right, item 1B, which would be the concept plan for this same case. Commissioner Ali.
I move we approve agenda item number 1B, subject to approval, City Council approval of zoning case 2025-006 with our stated stipulations and approval of any variances to the International Fire Code by Plano Fire Rescue prior to site plan approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Brunoff.
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments regarding item 1B before we vote? Anybody? Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-1. All right. Thank you to everybody who came out tonight. We do appreciate your input and your time with us this evening. Item 2.
Agenda item number 2, a presentation and discussion on the City of Plano housing study. The applicant is the City of Plano.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Drew Bronner, Comprehensive Planning Manager for the City of Plano. The purpose of this item is to introduce the recently completed housing study prepared by the Neighborhood Services Department. I'll provide a brief background of how this study relates to the comp plan and the work that the Commission does, and then we have Shanette Eden from the Neighborhood Services Department to speak on the details of the housing study. The 2025 housing study provides an updated assessment of Plano's current housing needs and gaps and replaces the 2018 housing trends analysis. The updated study will now be referenced to support the Commission's role in reviewing residential zoning cases for conformance to the comprehensive plan. The housing study directly supports the city's planning objectives and aligns with the comprehensive plan's housing policies and actions. The study provides data and major findings that help inform adjustments to city programs and strategies and will serve as a key reference for future zoning and policy implementation. In addition, the city's annual market study will supplement this work by providing updated data to track housing demand trends over time. Several comprehensive plan policies and actions are related to the objectives of this analysis, including the neighborhood conservation policy, which focuses on conserving and enhancing Plano's established neighborhoods through programs and regulations that support neighborhood identity and overall livability. Neighborhood Conservation Action NC4 provides guidance for implementing housing study strategies to address identified housing gaps in coordination with comprehensive plan policies. And as part of the 2025 Comprehensive Plan Maintenance Review, the Commission approved an update to Action NC4 to formally incorporate the new housing study as a guiding document for ongoing housing policy implementation. And also the Special Housing Needs Policy emphasizes support for housing options that meet the needs of seniors, people with disabilities, and low to moderate income households. Finally, the housing study provides important context for the Commission's review of residential zoning cases. When evaluating conformance to the comprehensive plan, the Commission considers both the future land use map and dashboards, which guide the appropriate mix of land uses, housing types, and the desired character of development, such as height, density, and form, and also the city's housing policies and data, including the updated housing study, which help determine whether a proposed zoning change addresses an identified housing gap or need. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Shanette Eden with the Neighborhood Services Department to provide more details on the housing study.
Well, hello. How are y'all doing? So I'm Shanette Eden. I am the city's Housing and Community Services Manager. It's really nice to see all of you all tonight. I'm gonna try to not hold you too long and leave you some time to answer questions. So the city began this study back in June of 2023. I'll get to an actual slide that shows it. But the purpose is, as Drew just stated, we hadn't done a housing study since 2018. We typically do one about every 5 years. It was time. And so you all will see, I'm not gonna sit here and read all the slides. I know you had a 100+ page report to review. I'm gonna try to hit on these highlights today and be here to answer all your questions. But it was time for us to hire a new consultant to analyze where we're at as far as housing here in Plano and just look at maybe some suggestions or recommendations regarding what we should do going forward or what we could think about. as well as in relationship to our existing comprehensive plan, which is what Drew mentioned. We always want to make sure we're in tune with our sister department, as well as how development grows throughout the city. So I started down this map that you can see. June of 2023, we started. It took us a while. A lot of things happened during this process, but our consultant spoke to a lot of people, our sitting council, a lot of developers that the city has worked with before. They met with key staff. They met with department heads from a lot of different departments that you all are used to hearing from. Then they analyzed the data. You can see the rest of the chart here. And then we went to council in July. So July of 2023, yes, 2 years after this started, we finally went to council with it. And that was in July. These major developments, thanks Mike to Nick who updated it because this needed to be updated. You all you all know about these developments that are coming here. They've come before you already. I'm not going to go through this lengthy list, but everything that's up here and this next page, you all have seen. So let's get to the meat of the study first. And the study also first looked at exactly what we have here in Plano with regards to what we're calling affordable. And when we talk about affordable here in this realm, we're speaking on this slide to something that's very specific. We're talking about what would the state of Texas consider affordable from a U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development stance. When you look at these, you're going to say, Shanette, those are all apartments. And I'm going to say I know that they are because the state looks at our housing tax credit properties as affordable because those are the properties that the city and the state, in essence, because they're the ones that make sure that those properties are actually meet the regulations that they fit. So all of those apartments fit within it. And housing tax credits are for multifamily. We don't have as many as some other sister cities, but these are the ones. The majority of ours that say elderly in general, they are for anyone that is 60% or below of the area median income. The housing tax credit process, which is something that I'm not here to talk to you all about. So as I look at Mike, I want him to give me the eye to keep going and not stay too far in this. But the idea here is that the federal government has house tax credit incentives for private development of housing multifamily specifically for that age percentage. Other than that, we have some public facility apartment complexes that are up here that are listed. So let's move on from apartments, right? Let's go into existing programs. So I'm just trying to lay the groundwork. The City of Plano and all these programs are run out of the Neighborhood Services Department. We have a number of programs that we use federal as well as city-funded monies to ensure that our homeowners can stay in their place, right? They can age in place, but not only that, so that we can help those that need homes and some other programs that I'm not gonna mention. I will quickly highlight Grade Update Rebate because that is something that's highly used here. If you all do not know about the program, check it out on our site. Thank you, Vice Chair, for shaking your head up and down. I'm glad that you know about it. That program incentivizes our existing homeowners to improve their homes. Flat out, we give a $5,000 rebate on the back end. We're not checking income. It's city money. I'm going to move on. Okay. So when we get to housing affordability, it's important for me to state this, especially because a lot of times I wear my U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development hat. That's not the hat I'm wearing right now. The hat I'm wearing is just general housing manager. And as a general housing manager for the city, when I'm up here talking about housing affordability, everybody has an affordability index. I don't care what your income is. You know how much you can afford based on what you are making. What the study showed in there, and what I'm here to kind of highlight, and mind you, these are 2023 numbers, they are consistent still today, a little bit higher in range. But what's important when you're looking at it is somewhat 120% of the area median income. So that's a household back in 2023 that made $105,241 could afford a house about $305,000. So if you say, Shanette, okay, so what? That was 2023. Let me give you a snippet and hope that my math was right, okay? So if we were looking at it right now, 120% of the area median income would be about $140,000, $140,760, something around there. The house that they could afford today would be $497,620. I want y'all to remember that as I keep moving forward. Okay, so now we're going to look at the rental market because we do have rental properties here. When people don't have enough housing or housing that they can actually afford to buy, their only thing left to do is to actually rent. So when you're looking at this, the rent market, the orange, obviously it says here what's in Plano, but I want you to pay attention to the levels by worker. And we're going to go into when you're looking at the affordable rent for worker in the healthcare and social assistance industry. That area right there, when we're looking at, that's kind of a mid-range on how much they're going to make, the average amount they're going to make a year. They're having a hard time paying for their rent. When you say that, we see in the report goes into it in more detail. I will give you a broad swath. A lot of our workforce housing, and when I say workforce, I mean our teachers, I mean our social workers, I mean our police, our fire, our city employees, you name it. I can keep going on in that mid-range, are spending more than 30% of their income to live here. And why am I talking about that? Because when I put back on my HUD hat, the HUD says that if you're spending more than 30% of your income to live somewhere, you are house burdened, okay? You're cost burdened. Okay, so let's look at the for sale properties. And mind you, this is a little bit more recent with the 2023. It's actually a little higher now. When you look at the housing that's available and existing, not necessarily the new builds either, and you all hear a lot about new development, that comes before you. It's important to remember, I just gave you an updated number about that $497, what a household that makes 120% of the area median income could buy. They couldn't afford to buy a house here in Plano with the median sales price being $530,905 here in Plano back in 2023. That hasn't gotten any better now. You can see everything else. Median sales prices of the new units over the last decade is 33% greater than the existing units. So the price of housing continues to go up. Okay, so let's look at housing gap. The city, midway through our consultant, in the process of doing the housing study, asked them to come back and do a jobs housing analysis. What we asked the consultant to do, we said, hey, housing is a regional problem. So let's look at what's going on in the region, as far as we can at least, from who's going to share the data. Let's look and see what kind of jobs are being brought to them and what kind of housing gaps are going to exist. So they looked at it, and when you're looking at this, the demand flat out is exceeding the supply. Right? There are more people in need of housing across all income ranges. So not low income, not high, but across all income ranges that are in need of housing. And housing demand, the only way that can get better is for supply to increase. Okay, so let's talk about key findings so that you all can get to asking your questions, okay? So the first thing is widespread housing cost burden, which I believe that I mentioned that already. Our consultant looked at the projected jobs that are coming here to Plano over the next few years, and over 40% of those jobs are projected to have incomes that are around $80,000 a year. Guess what? That means they can't buy that house that I was just talking about. That means that they're going to be cost burdened. If they're going to buy it, they're going to be giving up something extra, meaning but for an emergency expense or something like that, they're probably not going to be able to stay there. And now, Mike, I have to remember that I'm talking to Planning and Zoning and not the Community Relations Commission. Let's keep moving. The mismatch. The report talks about there's a mismatch in housing and workforce. I've kind of mentioned that already. And then the limited affordable housing for larger homes, right? So this means that we don't have enough housing either for rent or for sale that is in a range affordable to a lot of our residents that need a 3-bedroom home or residents that want to move in. That could be a new family that wants to come and be home and have their kids come to PISD. There's not housing for those. Aging population, the next one is the aging population is constraining supply. Now, when my parents saw this, they kind of had an issue with that. They're 75, 76, moved to Plano in 1982, and they've been living in their house. But the reality is they are aging in place. And it's a beautiful thing that we have programs for our homeowners to age in place. However, if they could find another place to move that is affordable to their income. Now, if they moved, then you could have maybe a younger family come in and help the schools and go ahead and build up our neighborhoods again. Let's keep moving on from there. Next, the housing study shows this, the market isn't gonna fix it. The job housing analysis that they did for us literally said, hey, Plano, your jobs that you're bringing here, if you don't build more housing, and it's a diversified type of housing. So I'm talking about your single family homes that may be that patio home, the ones that may be SF6. Thank you, Mike, for teaching me what that was, and the square footage. Those smaller homes, not just big homes, but a range of still owner, it could still be owner-occupied housing. The market isn't gonna fix it if we don't have it here. Next, obviously, I've mentioned this, the regional housing development just isn't keeping pace. That's on one of the other slides from the data that was provided by other cities. And that, we know this, and so the idea is that we will try to do something about it, right? So next steps, I put this on here. I always have to mention housing tax credits because that's something that has been put on hold since 2022. Our city actually had a housing tax credit consultant to look at what exactly should the city be doing regarding housing tax credits. We're gonna bring that back to council next week on Monday. We work with planning a lot. That's our sister department. We work with them a lot just on significant land use policies that they're bringing before you. They consult us, and we thank you all for that. Thank you, Drew. Other than that, we're just going to continue to use the information in the study to hopefully guide development and choices that the city makes. I am here to answer any questions, and I just thank you for having me.
Commission, questions? Commissioner Ollie.
Thank you for your work. Your passion is evident, and it's always heartening to see folks who work for the city that it's not just a job, it's actually something you are passionate about. Can you go back a couple of slides, the one that had the bars that showed the different metro areas? I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly. So is this right reading? That outside of Allen, Garland, Mesquite, and Prosper, everybody else around us, and the colony, everybody else around us is in a housing deficit.
That is true. And when you look at Allen and the colony, our consultant was unable to get their data, so they literally had to use just ACS data and kind of project forward. But yes, that is exactly what this is saying.
Got you. So even with the jobs that we're bringing into Plano, our neighboring cities cannot even take, it doesn't sound like they can take the overflow.
They can't assume the overflow. That's exactly it. That's what our consultant, you have me tonight, but our consultant was here in July.
Okay.
That is exactly what the consultant told our city council.
Got you. Other question, back to definitions, affordable housing. Is it pegged to a national definition of income threshold? Is it pegged to the surrounding area? How do I gauge?
So what HUD says is anybody, regardless of your income, should not be spending more than 30% of your income on housing. What that means is that it means that regardless of whether you're on the low end of the totem pole or the high, it is an affordability concern. They have that definition, so it's a federal definition. U.S. Census Bureau uses it as well. So that means they were trying to find a definition, it's been around for a long time, that regardless of where you fall in that income range, it doesn't matter. So I'll give you an example. A family of 4 in Plano making $93,850 a month. A family of 4 is considered low income. I just want y'all to let that sit. A lot of our families are making that and qualify for some of our federal housing rehab programs because of that. But the definition they're using is to where it can be applied to anywhere. It can, the person making $1 million a year, if they're spending more than 30% of their income on their housing, HUD's going to say you are cost burdened.
Understood, but I'm looking at the list that had mostly multifamily and what have you, that was classified affordable. My guess, correct me if I'm wrong, is that that takes either some kind of median or average of incomes around the surrounding area and determines if the rent for those structures is less than 30%, ipso facto, they're affordable.
You are correct. Okay, so with these, with the list that's here, they're using affordability based on HUD. So 60%, what HUD says today, 100% of the area median income today in 2025, if you looked at HUD, they say for Collin County, because they don't just look at Plano, they're including us in Collin County, is $117,000.
Gotcha.
So they're saying for these, in order to live in one of those that say elderly or general, your income has to be 60% of that in order to be considered to live in. You see how they have total units and then affordable units?
Gotcha.
That's what your income has to meet. Who monitors that and who establishes the rents? The state does. The state of Texas, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. They're the ones that monitor it. Even when you're looking at those public facility corporations, the same thing. For those, 51% of the units in those PFCs have to be for people at 80% or below. So that's more of like that family that I told you, that's a family of 4 making that $93,850. But either way it goes, when you're looking at those, that is something that the state does. The city, I'm not even going to spend a whole lot of time on that. The state regulates it. It is a state law, and
Yeah.
we abide.
Well, it's a known thorny issue where, and the frustrating thing is it feels like there's very little levers to pull to maintain that balance of affordability that keeps our firefighters, our police officers, our teachers, as part of the community that they serve very well. I don't have any answers to the case, so I'll be very, very looking forward to anything, study, whatever the case may be, but past study, something that we can actually go pull a lever on and perhaps drive even a little bit of a solution.
So you all hear a lot of housing cases. As I look at Mike to see if he's going to give me that's enough talking, Shanette. But you all have a lot of housing cases, and I just, if I may, with my housing and community services manager hat on, say, when you have a consultant that tells you that the city needs a diversity in housing typologies, I just am encouraged that you all are going to continue to listen to that, as well as knowing that it would be in alliance with the comprehensive plan.
Agreed.
Mr. Elling, any other questions? Okay. Commissioner Brunoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, congratulations on the study and for, I think, presenting the problem to us in very detailed and stark terms. I guess this begins with understanding the problem, and then we have to go from there. I was wondering if any effort has been, we tend to sort of think in convenient and traditional thought patterns without necessarily thinking that it's time to think outside the box. You know, so when it comes to developing housing, we tend to think of the traditional single-family detached house on a 6,000 or 7,000-foot lot, or an apartment complex containing at least 2 digits worth of units or 3 digits worth of units, you know, with the swimming pool in the middle and all that, you know, that goes with it. And I'm wondering if any thought has been given to correlating affordability with some of the other housing types that are out there that we just don't see very often, such as duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, manor houses, stacked flats, single-family attached townhomes, and even single-family detached patio homes. I know there is a development of patio homes sort of southwest from the intersection of Alma Drive and Plano Parkway, for example, of a starter-type patio home, which would, it's smaller, it might appeal to young couples starting out. I don't know how affordable they are or aren't, but they would be, I think, more affordable than the typical 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath brick home on the 7,000-foot lot. Okay? So has any effort been made to correlating or investigating affordability in terms of these alternate housing types?
I know that we work with planning a lot, so I would be remiss in saying that they don't think about this. The planning director was my predecessor in this job, which is great. I think staff, planning, and neighborhood services staff and other departments, we do look at that. I think ultimately we work together. They're familiar with it, we're familiar with it, and then we go through the regular process as far as development that comes through to you all and the comprehensive plan. I don't know if that really answered your question, but I do want you to know those suggestions that you made, they're not new to staff. It's just those things haven't come through yet. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I think we're working with the assumption that that is true without even having done the correlation, and we have, over the years, taken many steps in the zoning to create the tools to allow that to happen. I think the challenge has been that the market, the developers who do not typically get out of their comfort zone of what they're used to building, and so we haven't seen a lot of really experimental, creative opportunities use the tools that we've put in place just yet.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for bringing those housing types to our attention, which you did like a couple of years ago, and it just stuck in my mind, and I thought, ooh, that's why they told us about it. Way back then. Do you think there's a possibility that a solution to the affordable housing shortage might lie on a regional basis rather than within each individual city? Plano, Allen, McKinney, Frisco, the Colony.
I think the other chart
Carrollton, you know.
is kind of what shows us what's going on. You know, if every city would kind of build to what they know is coming and possibly incentivize as needed, I think it would be helpful. The further north people go, they're just trading transportation costs for housing cost. And it still won't fix the real issue. And that literally is why midway through the study, our consultant was directed to do a jobs housing analysis to see if maybe the region, you know, Plano is, I mean, we're pretty much built out, right? You know, maybe there's other places in the region that could take care of this. The problem is it's happening everywhere. So it's just bleeding over.
Yeah, I just add the comment that the traveling costs assume that the jobs are not located where they live. Plano has the luxury of being a net importer of workers. According to the housing study, it pointed out that twice as many people commute to Plano to work rather than commute out of Plano to work.
You're right. You're right.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Commissioner Bronski.
So I have some nerdy questions, but I want to start out by saying thank you for the presentation and thank you for all the work that you've put into this. So my first question is, when I look at, do you think Plano's a special place to live?
Well, my parents moved here in 1982. I'm one of 5. My kids go here. I live down the alley from them. It is more than special to me, sir.
So you would say that, well, I agree with you. I've lived in Plano for almost 30 years. And I do think there's something special about it. And I have a hesitation to say that build to what's coming. Do you suggest that we build to every last person who wants to live in Plano can live here?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting. I am suggesting that you already have people here. And I used a personal example, which I don't always do that. If we were in front of council, I probably wouldn't do that. But I use my parents as a personal example because they are the example of what's growing. Our community has a lot of 55 and plus staying here, and that is wonderful, and that's a beautiful thing. In their 2-story houses, that now they're living on their fixed incomes, and so they're using Great Update Rebate or coming through our housing rehab program just to stay there. And when you say to my parents, I'm going to use that example, hey, mom and dad, y'all should downsize. My parents haven't paid a mortgage in forever. We live by Hendrick Middle School, right? And so they're like, well, can we buy something that's affordable? Where is that? Well, there isn't that. And so that's what we're getting into. The types of housing that we have. So I'm not saying build to come, for what's to come. I'm saying let's look at diversified housing types regarding who's here. Sometimes you all hear people talking about schools closing, and they come to the city. But if there's no place for a family with young kids to come like my parents did, right, then they might be in a house that could be for that younger family. But they say, well, where can we live, right? And so that's why I say it's a housing concern for the whole, and the report, not me. The report says it across all incomes. If we don't have enough high-income housing, right, and the report mentions this is the layman's version, we don't have enough high-income housing for that 150% of the area median income to buy, they're going to buy the housing that is for the 100%. Those people are going to buy the housing that could be affordable to the 80% who want to buy, and they don't want to rent anymore. Everybody's taking somebody else's housing. So it's just, I'm going to end it like that. But I do agree, we are a special place. I'm not saying build to come. I'm saying it's here.
No, and I agree. So you use the $93,800. My family is about 70, we make about 70% of that, my wife and I, total, okay?
Yeah.
But I did want to go back a couple slides to, I think, slide 50. I think it's 2 slides back.
Oh.
Nope.
You said 50? I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep going back. It was a couple, it was the one that talked about the average incomes that are coming to the area. It was $80,000 you showed on the screen.
Hold on.
Maybe it's forward.
This. Was it this one?
No, it was this, you talked about the average incomes for the family, or for the occupations that are moving to Plano?
That was looking to, I think that was my rent. I might have been telling you that. Did I actually have a slide for it?
There was a slide that said $80,000, I thought.
I think I may have told, hold on. No, it's not that.
I thought
I'm
it was-
sorry.
Maybe, I wrote it down as 51. It was something about location. The bottom right corner said 51 was the number.
Okay. Oh, it was in key findings.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking for a
So-
chart. I'm sorry.
Does this represent a 2-income family or a 1?
So it depends. Okay, that's not a good answer for you all. So this is based off of when they looked at this in the report, and I hope I'm not about to get that wrong. It's different for every income. So let me give you an example. A 2-income family making $75,100 is considered low income. They're at that 80%, okay? So when they're talking about 80%, I'm almost certain in the report, we break it down and we show you like 80, 60, or 80, 30, 50. We break it down further than that. When they're making this generalization, it is looking at the amount across all of the households together that fit the 80% column. So that's like the one household, the two household, the three, the four.
I hear
hope
you
I'm
talking
answering
about
that.
teachers and police, and I know that those positions pay together would pay significantly more than $80,000 is kind of what I'm getting at. It seems to me that if we're talking about the working class people that you're describing, and you're talking about small families, you know, families of four, right? When I look at the actual median number that you're describing, they're then well above what the median $530,000 home is, correct?
They're gonna, I don't know those numbers, so I don't want to even give into that
Well,
one.
I wanted to go back to that screen as well.
But I'll tell you that I can't tell you if every teacher is married to a firefighter, if every teacher is married to, so.
I was just considering a two-income family is what I was asking at.
I gotcha.
Then one more question, and then I'm
Yeah,
done.
please.
Here's where I'm really going to nerd out, though. When you talk about the median numbers on the housing chart,
Yeah.
so that's the number in the middle, correct? So that
Yes.
means that when I'm looking at the 530,000, that's the actual center point number, right there, yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So that's the actual center point number. So that means there's an equal number of houses south of that as well as an equal number of houses north of that, correct?
Yes, there is. That is what median is. So yeah, you're right about that. I will tell you, we watch this every month here in our department because we're always having people, when we used to have a first-time homebuyer program, trying to buy houses. And there are months when you can go online, and actually we have someone with a real estate license on the team. You can go online and see that they're not available a lot of times. That's why we're having to use this median. Finding a house that doesn't need a lot of work, that's $360,000 or $400,000 is hard here in Plano. I haven't looked at it for this month, so I don't want to tell you that, but it's a hard thing.
Where I was going was, you used the
Please.
term range. And so I was curious, beyond median, do you have the mean and the mode numbers as well?
I don't have that here, no, but that's something that we could get.
It just seemed to me that we would have a fuller perspective if we were looking at all of those numbers. So the idea of diversified housing, my wife and I live on a home that's paid off. And I would move into a patio home tomorrow if I could find something that was reasonable, that we could sell our home and be able to buy another one. So diversified housing, I think, is very important. I served on the Comprehensive Plan Commission, and it was a priority to me that we have the diversified housing language, that we do consider patio homes, and as Mr. Brunoff mentioned, creative, out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to the aging population that we have. I've got a 22-year-old daughter and a 30-year-old son, both of whom are talking about housing and whether they will ever be able to buy a house. My daughter wants to become a librarian, and that's $60,000 a year, and so if it's just her, she's going to be very hard-pressed to stay in a community that she's grown up in. And so I'm not being negative about any of this, but I don't want us to just open Plano up so that it no longer becomes the place that you want to live versus the place that everybody can live to build what is to come. So I do want to maintain that specialness, but I do think it's very important that we find people like your parents and like my wife and I, a place so that we can move out of a 4-bedroom house and allow another family to come in. Now, I will say, when my wife and I bought this house, it was a house that needed work. And we moved into it, and we took over the course of time the value of being able to do the work so that we could buy it at a lower price point. So I do think there are a lot of families out there doing that. And I'll close it saying this. I teach as well. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
I teach personal finance. And I'll be really transparent. When I hear you use 30%, I teach my kids 25%. Because
Yeah.
the dollars, when you start getting to 30 and 40, and, you know, in some of the numbers you used, I think 48%, you're starting to take away from, you know, I told them when we were looking, I said, if I got to those numbers, my wife wouldn't have a thing to eat. And so my children have, and my wife have this thing about wanting to eat. And so we had to buy a house that was something that needed some work so that we could get into where we wanted to live to be able to have that. But to be able to diversify the housing stock, I'm all about it. But I do think we need to consider when we're talking about the median that there are a lot of those numbers at that 120% that these families are able to have because of the way the numbers are divided in the median. And that's why the mean and the mode, I think, would also tell us a lot of other additional valuable information.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for your time today and listening to me blabber on for a while.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, I'm going to jump in line in front because I don't have a number by my name. So, and I've got just a couple of comments, and I'll duck if you want to throw rocks at me, because I'm one of those 55 pluses that moved into Plano.
Oh.
And didn't bring kids. And so it's not just people that live here that are aging in place. There are some of us that are moving here for the quality of life.
Yeah.
That are also absorbing some of that housing stock that is so valuable for our young families as well. So if you want to throw something at me, I understand.
No.
But I think that's an interesting. I mean, our situation is not unique because of the price of housing in Plano. It's very hard for people right out of school, or people with young families, or people that want to move here for the schools to afford to be here. And so as a result, you get typically, I think I'm going to guess that you're seeing an older demographic, even the people that are purchasing homes, just because of the affordability index. Is that a fair assumption?
That is fair, yes, what you're just saying.
Okay,
That is
so
fair.
you're
And
not
there's
seeing a
data
lot
to
of,
back that up.
not seeing a lot of 22-year-olds buying houses in Plano, I wouldn't imagine.
No.
If they're here, they're renting, I would
Or they're
guess.
living with their parents, and I'm not knocking that at all.
And
you
so
know.
I didn't see, and maybe I missed it, because I have to be honest, I scanned the report, I didn't read every word. I would be interested in your opinion about, you talked about people who are trading housing costs for commuting, but you're seeing all this incredible growth. It's been going on for generations, that the suburbs grow, right? And the suburbs have become, the exurbs have become the farmland out between here and Oklahoma. And so, you know, now you're seeing Prosper, Salina, Anna, you know, points way north, that is where the new houses are being built. What is the consultant and yours opinion about, is that going to help us with some of this, or is that just solving the problems for people that are further out of town than we are, or people commuting in from there? I guess would be my question.
So the consultant overall goes back to that chart, doesn't think that there's enough building to build us out of it. I don't know if y'all ever drive down 380. You want to
Try to avoid it.
Okay, so you understand, and the further you go down, it gets worse and worse, and those communities are still having to catch up.
If people are choosing to live out there and
People
commute
are
to
choosing
Plano,
to
but
live out
it
there.
can't be a pleasant commute.
Yeah.
But that's where the housing is more affordable than here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's just my observations of that. So, but thank you. This is desperately needed, and it's a problem without a solution, I'm afraid, but we can keep working towards it.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Ali, you're next on the board.
Couldn't try and propose a solution. One, I think one of the things that exacerbates this problem is Plano is doing its own study, Allen is doing its own study, McKinney is doing its own study. Everybody's doing its own study in a small pace, versus where we should be looking at almost like a regional together, trying to figure this out. What is the housing diversification across North Texas, DFW? I don't know how, Collin County, I don't know how far
Yeah.
We go, so it's more like a proposal. Each planning departments need to have a kumbaya, powwow, and what have you. Secondly, the solution, I think, to housing diversification it's not necessarily housing. I think it's our transportation grid and the ability to go in and out. Yeah, to be a bit better connected. Because the Salinas and the builders and what have you, I have a friend who literally just built a new house in Salina. It's not cheaper. It's actually almost as expensive, if not more, even though their commute is greater. Secondly, and it's something we addressed when we were looking at the JCPenney build, is essentially trying to bring in a diversification of housing stock, higher quality, although it was multifamily and what have you, that almost releases the logjam in that flow, right? So that, I'm not in the 55 plus range, but I would trade mowing my lawn for a bellman and somebody who can maintain whatever in a nicely kept high rise and things of that nature. So I think if we look at, part of the problem is we're looking at everything in isolation. If we look at it from a larger tapestry, perhaps we can start moving this. Now, good luck getting all the cities to talk to each other. I'll leave that to the professionals to do. But just a suggestion, a wider lens and aperture
And work
might
together.
work.
I think we have a challenge, Mike.
Commissioner
We've been
Alonso.
challenging.
Well, I have we usually link affordability with lower standard. So I'm thinking probably we have to work in our planning department. Maybe we have to work on our standards a little bit, because every time, even all those a new development the one that you mentioned in JCPenney, they even if it's for 55 and older, they build it at a very high standard, and we don't want a low standard built. But I think it's maybe the diversity, to diversify within the same complex, so we keep the standard, but we make the build somehow affordable, because we always see those apartments, nobody wants them near them. Multifamily, it's going to be low standard, very cheap, standard build. We don't want that. So I think we can think about a way that make it, even if it's it doesn't put all these high-end materials or finishes or something. It's but it's still the community as a whole can be through landscaping, through maybe the exterior material, or somehow we can work it out. So it's not it's not a burden to the community, or it's not an eyesore in the community. We keep it beautiful, but at the same time we don't have to put those very expensive and even for people $4,500 or $3,500 per month rent. This is one. And and I have another question. So do we mind if we encourage our business part and have the people live somewhere and they come and spend their money in our city? I don't know about this is just a question. I mean, we know that we have a shortage in housing, but if we strengthen our retail, business, offices, and have the people commute to us wherever they live, would that be a bad thing or a good thing to the city?
I'll answer that one, because I think the challenge is that employers need employees. And so it's not just about coming here for retail and restaurant, it's about coming here to work. And so
They wanna live.
for our corporate partners to be able to thrive, they need an employee base.
Oh, that's
to be,
true. That
and
is
so
true.
and those are the people that come every day.
Oh, that is true.
Not just on Friday nights or Saturday afternoons. you
Well,
know.
that is true.
And so I think that's the driving force, is to have a good quality employment base. We've got to have housing for that,
Well, that
those
people-
employees,
for this-
yeah.
yeah.
But hopefully they spend money while they're here too, so.
They should, right?
Yeah.
For lunches and dinners, yeah.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Ali.
Let me add to that. And getting new blood into Plano is what revitalizes the housing stock. I rented first in Plano for 3 years while we figured out what school would best serve our kids. Then when we bought, we've thrown a couple of $100,000 into the house to make it up to what we do. What tends to happen in the older, rundown, single-family homes in Plano, I'm going to generalize, tends to be folks that are, if they were coming into Plano right now, cannot afford it, right? So, but they've been here for a while and what have you. So we actually, to your point about rundown multifamily and what have you, I think there's an equal problem on rundown-looking single-family detached, and that is because we're not moving. The system is gunked up, right? And there's not blood flowing through the system. So it's a yes and it's going to, if we can figure this out, it lifts the whole vibe of the community, and it's not just a solve for affordability, it's overall to revitalize Plano. We have to get the system moving again.
So you're suggesting we need a higher turn rate, which becomes a chicken and egg problem. Exactly. All right, any other comments? Nobody? Thank you very much. This has been very informative and.
Thanks for letting me
I have to repeat what Commissioner Ali led with. It's obvious that you enjoy your job. You're still smiling at 8, whatever it is at night,
do.
and enjoying what you do. So thank you for educating us.
Thank y'all.
We appreciate it. Do we have any other business before the commission this evening?
No, sir.
All right, we'll stand adjourned at 8:30 p.m.
And what other projects conflict with the overlay. This process can take up to 2 years, depending on the amount of work that needs to be done. Once the concrete is fixed,